The Kingdom Arena has turned into a pretty miserable experience, and it's all because of Doughael. The same arena teams over and over, getting beaten up every other battle, and if you don't have Doughael, well, you're completely screwed. But every time an oppressive cookie dominates the meta, we look for counters. No matter how high the odds are stacked against us, we keep searching. However, this time things are different. It's almost impossible to counter Doughael, even while you're using Doughael. Not using Doughael in your own team is completely out of the question. So anyways, how exactly did the arena become so horrible? Well, I present to you the standard team. It always consists of Hollyberry, Eternal Sugar, Doughael, and Shadow Milk. The fifth cookie can vary, but it's always a healer. It's either pure vanilla or marshmallow bunny. The standard team is everywhere, and it sucks to fight against. To understand how powerful it is, I'm gonna use it. My goal for today is to push as high as possible inside the arena. Right now, I'm around rank 200, but I can go further. Let's start fighting, and our first opponent is using a standard team with a 6-star PV. I'm a free-to-play player, so I'm completely outstatted, but there's a trick to winning this fight. My Marshmallow Bunny team's able to counter opponents who use the Whistle treasure. Sometimes you counter your opponents with treasures and toppings rather than specific cookies. Let's see if I can beat this person. Alright, so what does the Marshmallow Bunny team beat, and what does it lose to? Well, it's kinda hard to explain. It beats all the non-standard teams. If any opponent is using unmeta cookies like Black Pearl or an unmeta build, they get curb stomped. It also beats standard Doughael teams that use the Whistle. It's good against everything, except itself. Let's say your opponent's using a pure vanilla or Marshmallow Bunny and Doughael, along with a necklace or monocle treasure. If they have weaker stats than you, then you win. But if they have better stats than you, then you always lose. You can't beat stronger opponents by mirroring them, and that's a problem. Now, our next battle is a prime example of why the arena is so difficult. My opponent's using a PV standard team with a monocle, but they have over 1 million more power than me. I'm gonna fight them with my own standard team, and let's see what happens. Yeah, that's where everything falls apart. Using the same team against everything just doesn't work out well. You may be wondering, why Marshmallow Bunny over Pure Vanilla? Which healer is better? Well, I have a clear answer to that, and it all comes down to how you build your team. Let's dive into how the standard team works. Hollyberry has 6 peanuts with a cooldown biscuit. Eternal Sugar has 6 chocolates with a damage resist bypass biscuit. Doughael has 6 peanuts, a cooldown and HP biscuit, at least 15% cooldown and 80% HP. I sacrifice damage resist to get more HP because Doughael doesn't die that much, and the more HP they have, the more they heal. Shadow Milk has 6 chocolate and a damage resist bypass biscuit. Marshmallow Bunny needs at least 25% amplify buff, minus your amplify buff costume bonds. Then she needs 35% cooldown and as much attack as possible with a cooldown biscuit. We want our Eternal Sugar to take your enemy's Shadow Milk shackles. Give her lower HP than your Doughael and a higher attack stat than everyone else. Doughael buffs the cookie with the highest attack, letting Eternal Sugar become extremely tanky. But what about Pure Vanilla? Well, he sucks for free-to-play players and mid-game players. Here's why. It's too hard to get a low promotion PV to have more HP than Eternal Sugar. My PV's 4 stars 3 awakened, but he still needs an HP biscuit to have more HP than my 1-star Eternal Sugar. Keep in mind that Eternal Sugar increases her own HP by 35%, so this number right here is deceptive. This causes my PV to lose a lot of damage resistant cooldown, making him suck. So that's why Marshmallow Bunny's way better for me. In fact, I'll show you what happens when I use PV. Our next opponent is using a Fire Spirit Doughael team. I should be able to win this, but my PV may hold me back, so here we go. Well, that was expected. My team was flawed, so I lost. Speaking of flaws, there's so many different arena team counters out there, and I've tried a lot, but they're all flawed in their own ways. They involve replacing Marshmallow Bunny or PV in the standard team with something else. First, we have Fire Spirit. So the Fire Spirit Doughael's teams just straight up suck for me. It's wildly inconsistent, and my cookies tend to get randomly slaughtered. Fire Spirit relies on bursting down your opponents and killing them, but you have to massively outstat them to do this. Next, we have Moonlight. She's meant to be extremely tanky and soak up all those Shadow Milk Shackles. However, she needs to have like a level 30 Crystal Gem in promotions, which I don't have. Therefore, she dies way too fast for me. We also have Mystic Flower teams. So Mystic Flower has a cooldown increasing debuff, but the debuff doesn't have a huge impact on Doughael teams. I tested this already. For this arena season, her cooldown debuff is really mid. Finally, we have Stormbringer teams. Stormbringer is pretty weak nowadays, but if you don't have Doughael, she's your best bet. You can try some Stormbringer and Fire Spirit teams without Doughael, but you'll still struggle. After trying a ton of different teams against opponents like this, they're using a standard team with a monocle. None of them worked for me, and it was pretty hopeless. None of the counter teams I tried were usable, except one. The only non-standard team that works for me is the one that involves Wind Archer. Wind Archer isn't a damage dealer, his damage sucks, but rather he's a tank that can soak up Shadow Milk Shackles. In fact, he's naturally extremely tanky. My Wind Archer is only 1 star, but he's still able to survive a really long time. I made him have the highest attack stat out of everyone, so Doughael is able to buff and heal him a lot. For the Wind Archer team, there's different treasure sets that I've experimented with. The first version involves a jewelry box, watch, and monocle. Let's try it out against this opponent. They're using a standard team with a necklace. I also must warn you right away, do not randomly use a Wind Archer team against everyone, you will die. I tried using it against everything and it didn't go well, so the purpose of the Wind Archer team is to avoid mirror matches. Only fight standard teams that you know your own standard team can't beat. You should use Marshmallow Bunny in the vast majority of your battles. Anyways, let's fight our next opponent and see what happens. Alright, Wind Archer actually works even with my terrible promotions. Now let's talk about the next treasure set, the Flamingo Tube, Watch, and Monocle. So earlier I was fooling around with a Flamingo Tube and it seemed to work, so I decided to keep using it. The Flamingo Tube gives 2 cookies with the highest HP, 100% more HP. Hollyberry and Doughael get the buff, and this allows Doughael to heal the team way more than with a jewelry box. So the trick is to play around with the treasures and see what works the best for you. Use a box when you feel like you're not doing enough damage, and use a tube when your cookies die too much before the 30-second mark. For the next battle, I want you to see how much my cookies heal. My opponent's using the typical standard team with a necklace. Let's see if I can win with a weird treasure. Well, it looks like the Flamingo tube has potential. Perhaps more tube teams will pop up in the future. So there's some other things you need to know about the Wind Archer team. The toppings stay the same no matter what treasures you use. Hollyberry, Doughael, and Shadow Milk have the same toppings as a standard team from earlier. Eternal Sugar can use 6 chocolate, or you can try decreasing her cooldown if she doesn't attack around the 30-second mark. Wind Archer needs 75% damage resist, and that's the maximum you can have. Use almonds and a damage resist biscuit to reach this. Then give him as much amplify buff and candy toppings as possible. This allows him to receive more healing. He needs a higher attack stat than Eternal Sugar and Shadow Milk, so you can put raspberries on him if necessary. He also needs lower HP than Eternal Sugar, Doughael, and Hollyberry. So, this team has a major downside. It struggles when your opponent has a 6-star Shadow Milk, a 6-star Eternal Sugar, and a 6 awakened Hollyberry, which is what our next opponent has. If you were hoping for a magical counter that kills whales and their Doughaels, well, you're out of luck, cause those don't exist. I'm fighting top 100 players, and it's not going great for me. Everyone is super OP. Bro, my Shadow Milk is 2 stars, Eternal Sugar is 1 star, Doughael is 0 stars. There's only so much I can do, but maybe, just maybe, if I keep pushing, I can still win, so here we go. Alright, so a magical hard counter to Doughael doesn't exist. But that's not the full story. Here's the thing, you need to use both Marshmallow Bunny and Wind Archer to farm trophies. You're supposed to use Wind Archer against opponents with stronger necklace or monocle standard teams than you. You will lose mirror matches, so Wind Archer is your only chance. Use Marshmallow Bunny against literally everything else, which is like the majority of battles. It's time to put this into practice. Our next opponent's rank 7 and they're using a standard team with the whistle. Instead of using Wind Archer, I will use Marshmallow Bunny, simply because they're using the whistle. You have to choose the correct counter in order to succeed. So here we go, let's fight this Grandmaster 1. After tons of arena battles, I was able to reach 54th place on the leaderboard. I decided to stop here to keep my sanity, so did I counter Doughael? Although Wind Archer isn't a hard counter, he still helped me get this far as a free-to-play, and that's what matters. That's all for now. Like, comment, subscribe and stuff, and I'll see you in the next arena video.